Hi class. Okay, so chapter 11 starts out with some pretty nice guidance on using InDesign. And InDesign is a page layout product. Okay, it's not like using Microsoft Word for creating documents. You have tremendously more flexibility. And one of the things that it suggests that you do is that you create a folder on your computer or your flash drive called Coupon, okay? And in that folder, you should also make folders called fonts, images, and text, okay? And now that I've created an images folder, I'm going to select parchment and pizza, and I'm going to grab them and drag them into the images folder, okay? That way, when I go into InDesign, I know that they're going to be ready for me, okay? Generally, this is good housekeeping, all right? When you get ready to send a project to a printer or wherever that project needs to go, generally the fonts, images, and text need to go along with that project, okay? So let's go ahead and let's go to InDesign, okay? There we go. Here's InDesign. All right, and we'll start a new project, okay? Okay, so we're just waiting for it to give us a new document. Okay, there we go, and we want to start a print document. So I'm going to choose print because the coupon that we're going to make is for print. I'm going to use the inches unit of measure. Okay, so I'll change this to inches. Okay, and our width is going to be 8 inches. Okay, our height is going to be 3 inches, and I can either use the arrows or I can just type it in, okay, 3 in, for example. I want it to be a landscape type, that's what that means. I don't want facing pages, okay. Columns don't matter a whole lot in this instance, okay. And I want the margins to be I believe 1/4 of an inch, okay? So, actually, yeah, I think there we go, 1/4 of an inch. And you may notice that when I have this link selected, anytime I change one of them, they all change at the same time. If I unclick this, then I can change the margins for top, bottom, left, and right independently, okay? So I think that's just fine. Let's go ahead and say create to that, okay? And InDesign will get ready to make our document for us. Okay, and looks like I made a little mistake here. That's not a big deal. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, and let's click new. Okay. I see that it's supposed to be, our project is supposed to be 3.5 inches. I didn't really start anything, so I'm going to have to go ahead and just create a new document, but that's not a big deal. Let's go to print. Okay, let's go to a unit of measure of inches. There we go. We're going to do landscape. We're going to do no facing pages. Okay, we're going to make this 3 inches. Okay, like I said, I can use the arrows or I can just select the text and type it in. Okay, like that. And this one is supposed to be 8 inches wide. Okay, there we go, 8 inches, and this is supposed to be 3.5. That was my original mistake. So I'm going to type in 3.5 IN. Okay, that looks good, and our margins, we want to be 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so now I think we have everything okay. All right, so while that's getting ready to make it, we can see that we've got our rulers on, which we don't want. I'm sorry, which we do want. We didn't want the Adobe stock information on there. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly save this file. Okay, so we are giving it a name. All right, and we'll save it to our coupon folder, which is exactly what we want. And we want it to be an InDesign document. Okay, and let's go ahead and call it what the book suggests we call it. All right, and that is coupon ad. Okay, we'll say okay to that. And now we have, you can see up here, we've created it. It's couponad.indd. Okay, that's exactly what we wanted. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drag our guides into place. Those of you who are familiar with Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, may have seen this before. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this page right in half with a guide that's right at 1.75 inches. You can see there's a little gray box there. As I move the guide around, that shows me exactly where 1.75 inches is. Okay. Also, I'm going to drag another one in 3.5 inches. Okay. Now you may notice that we've got some purple margins, which is good, and we have some other color on the guides, which is actually cyan. Okay. This one is supposed to be 5.625. There we go. And 5.625 is actually 5 5/8. Okay, so that is looking good. All right. So that's how we put in our guides. Now, why are these guides this color? Well, back in the olden days when we used to do all of this manually, meaning there was no computer to do this kind of layout, this guide which was cyan, we used to make them with a little cyan pen or marker, was not something that would show up when we did the black and white films for the different color separations. Okay, it's so that's something that your book calls it green, but they're actually cyan. Okay, and that's a really important thing from a graphic design standpoint and graphic arts standpoint. Okay. All right, so one of the big things that's different about InDesign is that you put things in frames generally, text, images, and so forth. Okay, and so what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is go grab the rectangle frame tool. I'm going to come right here over by my guides, okay, by my margins, okay, and I'm going to just make a quick rectangle. I'm going to get it right on the corner there. There we go. And I'm going to drag it out there. And now I have a guide, I have a frame in which to put an image. Okay? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the type tool, okay? And I could come over here, all right? And I can start creating a box, okay, another frame, but this frame specifically does type, okay, and so it's there, and let's see, with the direct select tool you can see that it is there, okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to now create the dashed lines for our actual coupons. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to zoom in. So I'm going to grab this magnifying glass, which you may have seen in Illustrator or Photoshop. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a number of rectangle frames. Okay, there we go. And because I have smart guides chosen, okay, I can see here grids and guides. I have smart guides on. These are going to snap directly to the guides that I create. I'm going to cancel that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make 4 rectangles here. Okay, there we go. That's 3. And now that's 4. Okay? And what I'd like to do is I'd like to select them. So I'm going to grab each of these. Okay? All right, and I'm going to give them a certain stroke. So let's go with 2-point stroke. And for type of stroke, I'm going to use dashed line. Okay, so now I've got 4 coupons shaping up here. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and place the image of the pizza graphic. Okay, so I'll grab my scrolling tool here. Let's get that out of the way. And I'm going to put my pizza graphic right in this box. Okay, so I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Place. Okay, I'm going to go into my Images folder, and I'm going to go get my pizza. Okay, now what happens when I place that? Okay, I'm going to place it in the box. Okay, and you can see it's kind of a low-res image. It doesn't look really great. That's so that InDesign is able to show you a preview quickly. You have a general idea of what's in the layout, and it can process things very quickly. When you go to press, it will use the high resolution version of this. So this is really just a low resolution representation of what you just put in your design. Okay. Now, when you want to move this, watch what happens. If I've got the direct selection tool, which is this tool here, all right, and I start grabbing it, well, it's going to move the entire frame. That's not what I want. Okay. Instead, let's say I wanted to make the pizza look a little better, get more of the actual pizza into this graphic. Okay, what I need to do is I need to move the donut. Okay, and that's this thing right here in the center. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Looks like a reasonable representation of pizza. Okay, and so when we place a graphic, generally it will maintain higher resolution than just copying and pasting. Okay, it's copying and pasting can be just a little bit tricky. Okay, so now what we'd like to do is we'd like to start putting some type in these boxes. So I'm going to just click in the gray area here with the direct selection tool. Okay, and I'm going to go grab the type tool. Now you may recall we made a type box. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start typing Mama D's Pizzeria. Okay, and let's go ahead and type all the stuff that we need. All right, come join the family. And 16 Main Street. Anytown. And the phone number. Okay, so right now that type is pretty basic. Okay, and what we can do in this frame is now center it with this centering icon. Okay, we can go to Object, all right, and we can go to Text Frame Options, and let's just do a little bit of inset spacing. Okay, there we go. And did you see how that dropped the type down? Because when you start typing in a frame, it's going to start, the top of the text is going to start at the very top of the frame. That's not quite what we wanted, okay? And so it just shifted it down just a little bit, okay? Now let's go ahead and let's change this. I think that the book said let's go with, I think, something like 18 point, okay? That looks good. Let's go ahead and change this to something that's italic. And by the way, I don't have the fonts that the book suggests, so that's all right. I'm just going to change the font to something that I think is going to look good. Okay, so for example, there's I want something that has serifs. Okay, and let's see here. There we go. So I'm looking for something that has a family, and I can tell that by this little arrow here. Okay, so if I choose the arrow, okay, then I see it has some different versions, okay? So let's just go ahead and let's use Lucida, okay? There we go, and that gives me a better selection of fonts. So for example, I can use demi-bold italic, okay? Or in this instance, I think I want that one to be, let's try that one as italic, okay? Let's make this one italic, okay, but smaller, all right? And let's go down in size just a touch. There we go, that looks about right. Okay, and the client wants the phone number nice and big, okay, so I'm going to pump up the size to 14 point on the phone number, okay? Now, what I can also do is make these coupons, and I'm going to do it a little bit different than the book does, okay? One of the things that I like to do is kind of set all my type at the same time, and then, if possible, copy and paste as much type as I'm able. Okay, so here I have the type tool. Okay, and I'm going to start typing the first coupon copy. Okay, so that's 555 deal and 3 medium. One topping pizzas. $14.99, and that offer expires 9/15. Okay, so now we have our type. Okay, but it's not too exciting. Okay, but that's not a big deal. One of the things that we're going to do here is we're going to go back to text frame options. Okay, and let's go ahead and give us just a touch of spacing around that. You'll see that dropped it inside and down from the frame. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and make that centered. Okay. Starting to shape up, and let's go with how we think that it should look. Okay. And so, for example, this type here should be small. All right. So we can take that down to 10 point, and the book shows having it over to the side, all right, which is fine. Okay, now this is called the 555 deal. That's good. We'll pump that up. Let's try 18 points. Okay, that shows what the deal is, and let's pump up the size of the price a little bit. Okay, so now we have the type for one of the coupons. Let's go ahead and make this, I didn't get the right font, but that's really not a big deal. Alright, again, I used Lucida Bright, and I know that because I just clicked over here on this type. Let's go ahead and make this Lucida Bright as well. Okay, there we go. All of our fonts open up, and here we go. We'll choose Lucida Bright. Okay, and this one here, this headline for the 555 deal, we want that to be italic. Okay, and I think this one is still kind of large, so let's take that down just a little bit. Okay, now another thing that we can do is we can superscript. Okay, and we just select the 99 and we choose superscript. Okay, looks like I forgot a $sign there, so let's go ahead and put in the $sign. Okay, all right, now the book also shows that being italic, so let's go ahead and do that demi-bold italic. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, and now what I'd like to do is I did Control-0 so I could see my entire design. Okay, I'm going to go grab this type that I've just set, and I'm going to copy it and paste it into the next one. Okay, the next one, and the next one. Okay, now with those, notice that I'm having a little bit of trouble here. I'm going to need to go to text frame options. Okay, so again, I'm going to grab my text. I have to go to text frame options. Okay, and I'm going to pump up the space, inset spacing. Okay, there we go. That's that one. And again, that drops that down. And now this one drops this one down. Okay. All right, and now that I have the typeset, okay, what I can do is I can just set my type according to how I want this to look. Okay, there we go. All right. And this is supposed to be too large. Okay. Too large one topping pieces. Okay. This deal is $2 off. $2 off one medium pizza. Okay. There we go. And this one is a large 3 topping pizza. Okay. There we go. Let's do one large. There we go. Large 3 topping pizza. That one is supposed to be $11.99. Okay. So there we go. All right. Now I'm going to change the spacing on some of these. Let's see. There we go. All right. Now, usually we don't have this kind of a problem when we're setting type, okay? Whereby, as you can see, the offer expires changes in different, with different type sizes. In other words, this space right here is different from coupon to coupon, okay? For our purposes, that's just fine, okay? You know, this coupon's not the fanciest thing in the world, but if I was going to do this for real, and I really wanted something to appear the same way on every single coupon, okay, what I would do is I would draw its own box here, and I would type in offer expires into that box, okay? That's a story for another day, okay? But that is something that we won't worry about, so that we can keep this video a little bit shorter. Okay, so the other last thing that we want to do is we want to go over color changes, okay? And so right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select some of the type, all right? And I'm going to select that type. Let's open the color. Okay, swatches, there we go. All right. And notice that it gives you some choices. Okay, you've got CMYK, okay, cyan, yellow, magenta, black, CMYK. All right. And it also gives you some options for process colors, such as making the headline red. Okay. If you wanted to, or you needed to, you could go to new color swatch, okay, and it would give you choices. So for example, it could ask you color mode, and your book specifically talks about Pantone plus CMYK coded, all right? So that would be this right here, and what that means is it's a spot color, meaning it's specially mixed, just like it came out of a can of paint, okay, to be a certain red color, okay? Like, let's say Verizon has a certain red, and it is always the same. And the coded part means the type of paper that this would be on, okay? We're going to not worry about that, though, for now, okay? So now we have the headline, which is red, okay? And I think we're going to make a couple other quick changes here, right? We were going to select this text, and let's go to the swatches, and let's make that a nice process green, okay? And by process, I mean that cyan, yellow, magenta, and black will all come together on the printing press to create this green color by adding, in this case, it's going to largely add cyan and yellow because yellow and blue make green, okay? So that's how that happens. Okay, so that's your project, and give me a call or send me an email if you have any questions. Okay, thanks. Bye.